this up. But you can automate a lot of this. Your newsletter becomes automated from every time you post a blog, and you're good to go. And then you can integrate Facebook and Twitter. But Facebook and Twitter aren't gonna get their own people. Whatever channels you have people coming through, if your blog has traffic, use your blog at the bottom of a blog post. Say, hey, go check us out on Facebook and Twitter. That can be a call to action on the blog. In your email signature. Learned this from a pretty cool guy right over there. You can have all of your different little social media pieces such that everyone you email has the option to go through and say, oh, here's his email, yeah, Dan's great, yeah, awesome, cool. Oh, hey, Facebook, I'm gonna go friend him. Right? And then you build the network, you build your social media channels based on what you're already doing. Right? So you build it into your publishing, you build it into your systems. Don't ever do these things as individual silos. Build them into your systems, that way they're inherently sustainable and valuable. We're not going to talk about that. Now we can go back to improvement and test. And if you guys want to talk about this, I'm happy to cover it. No? I know it's getting late. So if you just go through the PowerPoint and take a look at this, steps required to accomplish a goal, recommend site changes that will maybe alter what happens, pay attention to your stats and see whether or not it worked. And this is important, for every test you run, if the test is successful and you heightened the likelihood that someone becomes a lead or takes an action, it's always going to be like that for the most part. If you do a change and it has no impact or actually lowers the likelihood for that to happen, go back to what you had before. Such that every time you win, you get better, and every time you lose, you stay the same. So if you test enough, you'll keep winning. And then the whole thing is totally optimized, and you're like, oh, how'd I do that? You just kept trying different things that you thought would work. So that's really critical, and then there's some tools here just to kind of help you figure out how to do it, and here's some methods, things to test, things to change, headline, call to action, and then tools to use to help figure out whether or not your changes are successful.
Can I go back to that for a second?
Yeah.
You talked earlier about how important your headlines and calls to action.
Yes.
Can you spend just a minute talking about, from a copywriting perspective, how you think about creating those?
Sure.
Sort of best practices.
We'll go right back here. There we go. Every user is a real person. Every user has a need. You have value when you meet need, and the way they define their need is the way you should communicate your value. Your headline should speak to their need and communicate your value in one sentence. And how right or wrong you are on their need and whether or not they care about the value you're pitching them is directly proportional to how effective your call to action is and how effective your headline is. Does that make sense? It has two parts. So on the other page it was IP cameras and trying different things on different pages. We had home surveillance on one banner, we had IP cameras on another. We're trying different things on different pages of the site so that we can see what people respond to at different places. Their need, how they think of their need, using the keyword tools to say, hey, if I'm an accountant, North Carolina accountant is their main need. They just want an accountant. So how can I tell them, hey, I'm an accountant, and then quickly differentiate enough and use the right words to say, I'm a reliable, dependable accountant, or I'm an amazing, cost-effective accountant. Or value when you describe the thing you do. Right? And that's got to speak to their need and your value that you can best deliver for them. And then they're going to determine, and you can run tests and change your headlines every week if you want to. I recommend doing that until you find what really works, especially if you have enough traffic coming through your website for that to be useful, such that you can get 100, 500 people to see that headline and have a chance to respond. Your call to action is also really important. You may find that offering a 50% off spring cleaning is a great call to action to get people to act in April. Cleaning 50% off, or that free in-home estimate. those different calls to action that are the reason they do the thing, the way that they decide to engage you. So the headline says, we do this way. This is why we're awesome. This is what we do. This is why we're awesome. Then your call to action says, and this is how you get it and why we think you should do it. And if you just play with those two things on a page that you know where people are coming from, especially if you're doing, if a lot of search engine traffic comes to that page and you know what keywords, so you really understand what their need is, and try different things speaking exactly to this. What's your value? How do they see it? And what do they want? So if you communicate a value that they don't find valuable, then that's not the right thing. Try different values or try different ways to reference their need and see what they respond to. And if you have the analytics in place, you'll be able to make a change and see a visible difference if a difference is to be had. Does that answer your question? Awesome. Again, I'm happy to stick around for another little while if anyone else has questions or thoughts or things I'd like to cover. You'll have the slides, and they're all full of these cool little checklists that you can go through and use. Sure.
What is Bing?
Bing is MSN.
Okay.
Yep. MSN launched Live. That didn't do so good. People didn't really see the value of Live compared to MSN search. Then they launched Bing and spent more money on it. And then people were like, oh, Bing! They were like, hey, we finally spent enough money for people to care. And they're still only less than 20% of Google as far as their ability to bring traffic to a website. So I care about Google for the most part. And after Google, I'll start to pay attention to Yahoo and Bing. But only after I take care of Google.